All right, thanks, Kristen. I lost where I was there for a second. Hey, everybody. As Kristen mentioned, my name is Jeff Chow. I'm a product manager on the extensions monetization team. And glad to see you here today. We're going to talk a little bit about how you can build a business on Twitch through your extensions. All right. So we have a jam-packed agenda today, so why don't we just go ahead and jump right in. Our team's goal, as Kristen had mentioned, is essentially to open up and make sure that developers have the tools, specifically related around monetization, that they need to integrate into the extension and make money, right? And we want you to build a business. So with the launch of extensions back in last year, we're seeing a very unique opportunity here for where you, as a developer, whatever you build can get instant reach and exposure across thousands, hundreds of thousands of streamers who are streaming consistently to audiences worldwide. What we're doing is allowing you as a developer and building in that revenue model so that you can start to capture and capitalize on that exposure and really capture that value that you're bringing to the community. Our ultimate vision here is that developers will have a multitude of options that they can use to work with their specific use case, right? We know that it's not one size fits all. And so what our goal is to have a multitude of options there. All right, so we're going to talk about 3 different things today. One, we're going to start with what is available today and what have we launched so far. Number 2, we are going to focus on giving a little bit of sneak peek into what's coming up in the near future. And then 3, we're going to have a quick conversation, a very candid conversation with one of our promising developers, who you may have probably heard a lot mentioned throughout this event with James Altuar, who builds sound alerts. All right, so why don't we just go and get a kick started here. So what have we launched so far and what's available today? Back in late 2017, we had started a program called In-Extension Purchases. This essentially was a way for developers to sell digital goods inside of their extension for cash. We've kept this in closed beta as we're starting to experiment with different verticals on how we can roll this out more broadly. And our latest and most recent, you may have heard, I think it was mentioned in a couple talks earlier today, is our work with and partnership with PUBG to sell in-game item skins. We're constantly evaluating how we can start to roll this out, again, more broadly at scale. And we'll start to focus, as you'll see later down the line in the presentation, on specific verticals so we can prove conversion lift and really kind of prove the value here. Right? So this is just like the first iteration that we're starting to experiment with. During that process, we had gathered a ton of feedback from broadcasters and developers alike. And that led us to open up bits and extensions. So for those of you who aren't familiar, bits are a virtual good that's available on Twitch for viewers to purchase and then in turn, quote unquote, cheer with them in chat to celebrate really cool and hyped up moments in the community. It's really a celebratory mechanism. What we did for bits and extensions was we allowed developers to tap into the use of bits so they can use them in their extensions. So any of that value that's generated from an extension that uses bits, 80% of that value goes to the broadcaster, and 20% of that goes to the developer. Since we launched this preview back in April, we've since launched it in open beta, but we've seen at least, I think it was mentioned, over 50, 60 extensions that are bits enabled today. And we're starting to see, again, it's very early here, but we're starting to see a lot of promising trends, not only from an installation perspective, but also there's millions of bits being used through these extensions. So with that being said, we are going to invest pretty heavily in the next coming months. And as you see, as I mentioned, what's coming up next, there's a lot of improvement here that we are looking to make to reduce a lot of that friction and optimize a lot of that usage on behalf of developers. Along the way, after we had launched in preview for bits and extensions, we had started to iterate with a lot of those features that were available, right? The first is mobile support. And this basically gives developers the chance an opportunity to expand their reach to the mobile audience by using bits, right? So now that you have the web version, you can also apply that and port that to your mobile panel version as well, and instantly expand your audience base. The second area, and for those of you who are around during our preview stage, you may be well familiar with this, but there was a huge friction point where in order to use Bits and Extension, you need to create a product. The challenge was, in order to create those products in our services, you needed to work hand in hand manually with a solutions architect or an integration success engineer, as we called it back then. To be able to, you had to fill out a form, you had to submit that form, and then the integration success engineer had to turn back and really create that manually by running a script on our end. It was terrible for everybody. What we did was, to resolve this, is we opened up the ability for you to have full control over that product catalog through the developer rig in a self-serve portal. So you have access to add, modify, deprecate any of those products at will without needing anybody in the way, right? So we are pretty confident that this is getting people started much faster, and it gives you a lot more control on like what you can test, what's available in your extension, and whatnot. So with that being said, as I mentioned before, we are gonna invest pretty heavily in Bits because we're seeing a lot of promising trends here. There's two main friction points that we had heard along the way that we are looking to solve in the next coming months. The first friction point was, hey, I have a non-monetized extension. I cannot add Bits to this. We fully realize this and fully hear you. We heard the feedback. I'm happy to say that we are going to resolve this. We actually just posted an RFC on the dev forums yesterday. And we are basically going to allow you to enable Bits to any of your extensions at any point in the lifecycle. This will reduce the friction and reduce your having to manage two different versions of the same exact extension, just one has a little bit of Bits in it, right? Definitely looking forward to hearing your feedback on this. Please go to the dev forums and take a look at that RFC. We want to make sure that this is a solution that resolves this problem for you. In summary, to summarize what the solution is that we're proposing, is that we want to open up a feature flag that allows you, as a developer, to understand and be aware of when a Bits-enabled channel is available or not. So basically, whether the channel can accept Bits or not. And then be able to tailor your experiences according to that flag. The second area of pain point that we heard was around entitlements. Hey, it's really hard and really cumbersome for me to have to maintain and manage a backend just so I can manage and keep track of these entitlements. Happy to say that we also are working towards resolving this as well. And we are planning to post an RFC on what this looks like in the next coming months. Our hope and our goal for this is to make it as easy as possible and tie it to the product management or the product catalog so that you can tie a benefit to a product and be able to hit our service at any point in time to understand, hey, I have this user for a given extension on a given channel. What are the entitlements that are available and able to fulfill for them? We're super confident that this is going to reduce a lot of the burden on you to maintain and manage your backend. And this will allow you to free you up to focus more on the extension experience. Again, this will be posted as an RFC in the next coming months, and please go and keep an eye out for that, as we definitely want to make sure this resolves your problems as well. But that is just one bit of the story. We also realize that it's not a one-size-fits-all. Bits may not work for all extension use cases. And so I'm happy to say that we are going to experiment and planning to experiment with 3 different areas, as was mentioned earlier in the keynote today. The first area is watch ads for extensions. Some of you may be familiar with the existing product today that exists on Twitch, where it's called watch ads to earn bits, where viewers can actually trigger and watch an ad, elect to watch an ad, in exchange for a random number of bits. We want to port that functionality and start to test this out in an extension. So viewers will be able to watch an ad in exchange for some sort of feature in the extension itself. And the mock-up here, it's a very concept level, but Hungry Piggies is a mini game where once you die, you can use bits to continue on where you left off. Otherwise, you have to start all over. Imagine where you prompt the user to either use bits to start and continue playing, or you can watch an ad to continue playing. right? And then developer, the idea is that the developer would be able to get a revenue share off the ad revenue that's generated. Again, very conceptual. We are looking for partners to experiment and test this out with, but super excited to see what the potential opportunity could be here. The second feature that we are going to experiment with is around subs and extensions. And this is a very highly requested feature that consists of two components. The first is being aware and having the extension aware much easier to get this user subscription status and tier. While it is available today through the API, it's kind of a tricky and cumbersome process to have an extension be able to gather that information. So we want to make it much, much easier. The second component of the subs and extensions product is going to be related to being able to trigger the native Twitch subscription purchase flow. Both of these combined will allow you as a developer to be able to provide different extension experiences based on the user subscription status and tier, and then be able to capture some of that revenue. Super excited to see what here. The example here is around GenVid's CSGO minimap. And the idea is that a subscriber would, at a certain tier, would be able to access that minimap from their extension. The third area is around cash and extensions, but specifically merchandise. As I mentioned, we are exploring and experimenting with different verticals around cash. The first area that's after digital goods is going to be around merchandise specifically. This extension will allow users and viewers to trigger and purchase a physical good from the extension using Amazon Pay. And this is our first iteration of this product, and a couple partners will be launching this weekend at TwitchCon, with many more to come. So we talked a little bit about what's available today. That's in-extension purchases for digital goods. It's limited in closed beta right now as we're starting to explore specifically in-game item skins. But as far as open beta goes, where all developers have access to, we have bits and extensions with that standard rev share of 80-20. Over the next couple months, with some being launched this next weekend, is around our experimentation areas with watching ads for extensions, subs and extensions, as well as cash with merchandise. So to close it off, let's take a look at a case study and success story for one of our early developers, early and promising developers. His name is James, or Altuar as he goes by. He had created the wildly successful Sound Alerts extension. So we're going to bring him up on stage here to have a quick conversation to hopefully shed some light and insight into what makes Sound Alerts so successful, and then how you guys can potentially apply those same principles to your extension to make sure that you're successful. So James, why don't you come on up?
Hello.
Hey.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Let's take a seat and just have a quick conversation. All right, so essentially, Sound Alerts is a panel and actually a component as well, right? That sits on a channel and allows users to trigger sounds on the streamer's stream, essentially, for the community to hear. Using bits, they're able to trigger the different sounds that streamers can customize along the way. Again, wildly successful, and yeah, thanks for coming by. Super excited to see what you've done and built so far. Can you share a little bit about yourself and maybe what's your background?
Yeah, as you said, my name is James, also known as Altor. I'm a Twitch developer for extensions coming from Germany, and I make a living on running Twitch extensions. Yeah, I'm a huge Twitch fan for a long time, and I always liked to code in my free time. So now with Twitch extensions, I can combine both of my hobbies into one, which I find really awesome. Yeah. And yeah, and after the extensions monetization feature was released, I even could start my own business on running Twitch extensions.
Wow, that's really incredible to hear that you were able to take your hobby and turn it into an actual business. That's crazy. That's awesome. What excites you about extensions as a framework or as a technology?
So when I saw the Twitch extensions, the announcement of the Twitch extensions last year, I instantly knew that this will be a huge success because Twitch is a huge platform with millions of users, and this was the chance for me to create applications which will be used by a lot of users. So yeah, my first extension was the World of Warcraft Armory extension, which
cool.
I released about a year ago. It shows character informations about the streamers, so in-game character informations. And it has by now over 30,000 installs, which I find really awesome. Just to see extensions running on different channels, it's really exciting.
Yeah, cool. How did maybe you could share a little bit about how you came up with the idea for sound alerts? Like, what was the genesis of that extension idea?
So, as a long-time viewer of Twitch by myself, I knew that interaction is a key feature of that platform.
Yep.
So, my idea was to give the viewers a new way of interaction with the streamers by triggering sound alerts on the stream. So, and also wanted to give the broadcasters a new way of monetization, so that they can even earn more money.
Oh, great, great. What do you think about, like, why do you think sound alerts has been so successful in your mind?
So it's really important that you keep your extensions as easy as possible, especially the configuration part. So for example, in sound alerts, users or streamers can not only upload their own sounds, but also can choose sounds which have been uploaded by other users. So yeah, that everyone can start right away using the extension.
Oh, great. Awesome. Is there anything about sound alerts that you think resonates with the viewers specifically? Like, are they getting like viewer recognition from playing and triggering the sounds, or how is that incorporated in your extension?
Yeah, it's really important that you have some sort of recognition for the viewer. So in sound alerts, you do not only have the sounds triggering on the stream, but also have an overlay alert and a chat message, which displays who triggered the sound and for how many bits. So this gives the possibility for the broadcaster to personally thank the viewers, which potentially motivates the viewers to even spend more bits in the extension.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. What about maybe to wrap it up, any last advice that you can give to aspiring developer or extension developers out there to make sure that they're at least on the right path to being successful?
So when I first launched sound alerts, I had only options available for up to 500 bits. But multiple streamers contacted me that I should make higher bits options available. At that time, I wasn't sure that bits like 1,000 or 2,000 or even 10,000 bits will ever be used in my extension. So but I made those options available, and these bits amounts were actually being used. So that's when I realized that there are some that there are a lot of generous people on Twitch who are willing to spend that much bits in your extensions and and support the streamers in that way. So it's very important that you have high bits amounts from the start on in your extensions.
Cool. That's amazing to hear. And again, like, I'm really excited to see the success of sound alerts, and really looking forward to what you have coming up next for us. That's again incredible that you were able to kind of turn your hobby into an actual profession. Super exciting to hear that. So thank you very much for joining, and appreciate your time. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So just wanted to recap a little bit about like some of those best practices. One, bits are known for celebration, cheering, right, hyping the community. So as much as you can tap into that same kind of vein, the better off you'll be. Keeping it, I think, as Altuar had mentioned very clearly, is that keeping it simple. Like, we know broadcasters don't want to go through a ton of friction just to get their extension installed and used, right? No matter how good it may be. So being able to keep that configuration and extension like UI very, very simple and straightforward is going to be key. And make sure you're really kind of listening to what kind of streamer problems there are out there that you can potentially solve. This is leaning into the community I think is a really important concept that we try to push as much as possible, that we believe is kind of like the secret sauce to the success here. So that's just to summarize a little bit. To close it up here, like how to get started, right? So all of our docs are on dev.twitch.tv. You can go there. Especially if you are interested in the RFCs that we're going to be posting, especially the one around bits, what we're calling bits-enabled feature flag. Please go, and we definitely want to hear your feedback on that. We plan to roll that out in the next few months to all developers. Feel free to also post on the forums. We're also very active there, so feel free to just reach out at any point in time if you have any questions or anything like that. So, and I think.